What's up, everybody? Oh, it's Investing Bros.
Taking a look. Today we got durable goods, guys. You remember me talking about that this was not a major economic thing. It is a red block event, but not a major factor of what they look at when they're doing inflation. It does show a level of demand. We had showed that it was going to be a consensus of negative 1%. Forecast of 9/10% actually was not negative at all. It was actually up 1.7%. So the demand is there for companies to get durable goods to create products. So there you go. Nothing big going on today. Besides that, looking here at the CPI neutral from Truflation, not changing at all, staying at 2.46%. And in the past 24 hours, $87.7 million in liquidations. And I was telling the bros before we started the show that I really don't think that it's fair that we call this a liquidation, because it's really, that's a really negative way of looking at it. What it really is this is people that made good calls on a trade, taking money from people that made bad calls on trades. Liquidated means gone forever. It was only gone forever for one person. The other person made the money forever. Ethereum coming in almost equal longs versus short. Bitcoin coming in with more short liquidations than long, quite a bit more, about $3 million worth more. And then OKX was the big one for the last 24 hours for the exchanges.
We're moving over to Fed Watch Tool this morning, and guess what? This is one of the sites where my mouse freaks out, so I'm going to keep it over here to the right. Nothing is changing this morning. We're a little higher than we have been over the last week or so at 76.9%, staying at 25 basis point rate hike coming in July, but nothing else has changed, guys. The expectation at this point is still to end the year at this rate, 525 to 550. It's not what Jerome Powell has predicted when Jerome Powell says that he's expecting a 5.6, which would mean 550 to 575. The CME futures tool is not predicting that's going to happen. Going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Of course, you guys know here on this channel and a lot of crypto channels are kind of predicting the start of a bull run sometime January, maybe February of 2024, where we'll start to get back up towards that $50,000 range. Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, we ticked up a little bit today, up to 59, up from yesterday's 55 in the greed, but this is not as high as last week's 65. So back.
Hold on, Tim, I'm going to stop you. Go back again.
What did I do?
Same thing as yesterday. Now you're looking at
listen,
bulletproof vests. What's going on?
I've been doing so well with my calls that people are threatening my life, and so I'm looking into defense. I also want to get into hiking.
Tim, those are tactical boots, and
we are getting some overbought flashes here on the Chart Prime Oscillator. What I'm looking at right here, though, this is pretty much just the regular RSI free indicator that Chart Prime made, but you can see the way it flows, what's happening, the relative strength index. It measures it with like candles, and you can incorporate, you get engulfing candles that are really, really good bottom calls. You also just get to see the power of the flow of how strong it is. So we're seeing a big red candle on the hourly chart, and we're seeing that same red candle on the price action as well. But a lot of times what you see this doing when we're starting to get up to these levels is it's just resetting. Kind of topped out here in the hourly RSI. Don't be surprised if maybe over the next couple of hours, guys, Bitcoin is trading a little sideways and a little downwards. But here's where it starts to get good when we get out to the 4-hour chart. We talked about this yesterday. It reset itself very, very nicely. That is not that big of a fall. Bitcoin's price, if you were to be at this exact peak and come down to the exact bottom, we're only looking at a 4.6% fall. Not that big of a deal. In reality, the way that the oscillators measure, you're really looking at candle body closes. So if we were to go to candle body closes, we're looking at about a 3% drop in Bitcoin's price from this top level. Well, look at how the oscillators have reset themselves. Chart Prime Oscillator right here coming back down below the zero line. We had the RSI primed come below the 50. They reset themselves up very nicely for another push to the upside. This is one of the reasons why I'm suspecting that we're going to be having a push happen very, very soon. The other thing that I think is very cool happening, though, is when we go all the way back out to the daily chart. We had the nice trifecta here of actually quadruple. On the oscillators alone, we had a lot of bearish looking indicators right here happening. This is back up at the peak, by the way, guys. Red reversal triangle, orange overbought box. We got the OB flash. Down here on the money flow, this graph went way above the money flow. The RSI primed is sitting all the way up here at 89. All the things that you want to see on a chart to say, oh, this is about to reverse to the downside. And yet, not necessarily confirm this 100%, but yet the price is starting to bounce back up. If you're looking at the daily closes, we're not that much lower right now than we were from the daily close here just a couple of days ago, the highest daily close we have had in a long time. We haven't had a daily close this high since way back here in June of 2022. So about a whole year. This is the highest we've been for an entire year of candle body closes, and we're starting to make a push back up. There was something brought to my attention this morning. ETH over Bitcoin chart. It has been dropping. In fact, this is the lowest that ETH over Bitcoin has been since back in July of 2022. So that means about 300-day low for the Ethereum over Bitcoin chart. You guys know Ben Cohen has been calling and saying he thinks this is going to be going lower. Cohen, however his name is pronounced. I always just read it. Would love to have him on the channel if he would love to come on. But what I've had drawn here for a while, this is not like something I drew this morning. I drew this back here in March. We're getting very close to a support level of a falling wedge pattern. We also pull these oscillators and we're getting an oversold flash right here. Now, again, are we going to ignore it and continue to move to the downside? That absolutely could happen. In fact, actually, when we zoom in here, that is a little bit of what's happening here because this flash actually comes all the way back here at this price action a couple of days ago. So this is a bearish sign. But as we get closer here towards support, as we're seeing the RSI prime be super low here down towards 4, look for a potential bounce on ETH over Bitcoin. Don't know if it's ready for that just yet, but give it a couple of months, give it more towards the end of this year, towards the beginning of next year. I do think we're going to see Ethereum over Bitcoin go to the upside. The other one I want to look at, and this one is really crazy. I don't think it's ready to go yet. This is another one that I'm going to be keeping my eyes on. This is the Cardano over Bitcoin chart. By the way, guys, the low that we're at on Cardano over Bitcoin, we have not seen since all the way back here in January of 2021. So this is one of the things that's scary. I don't even necessarily know if it's done. You guys can see right here, just like I talked about before, we ignored this oversold flash. What does that mean? The bears have a lot of strength. That should continue. But the lower and lower we drop, the greater the bounce is going to be. Keep an eye on a couple different trend lines. We have our falling trading channel with these red levels. That could drop. We see the Cardano price drop. Oh, how many zeros is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 zeros in a 5. Or this blue level has started to develop a little bit of a support level. Keep your eyes on that. Either way, I think there's a chance we're close to support on ADA over Bitcoin as well. Bitcoin dominance is just running rampant. What is this going to look like? We'll have to wait and see. But keep your eyes on those charts. That's explaining why the Bitcoin dominance is climbing.
Going to start off with this headline. We're not going to get into the article, but Bitcoin is on a roll. How the biggest crypto could top 35,000 this week. Why is this important? Why am I bringing this to your attention? Because this is from Barron's.com. Barron's pretty well respected. It's also a pay to play. You got to pay for the subscription here, but they are usually pretty bearish on Bitcoin. You're starting to see just another tick in the direction of establishment, American media, American banks moving pro crypto. Our biggest and kind of first story here that we'll cover, Cathie Wood's ARK reportedly first in line for a spot Bitcoin ETF. ARK and European asset manager 21 Shares filed an application with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, maybe you've heard of them, for a spot Bitcoin ETF in April. That now is the only one ahead of BlackRock's. 21 Shares, ARK, and CBOE are first in line because their next SEC decision date is August 13th. So that is a date to save, August 13th of this year. And we don't have yet a date for the other 19B4 applications like the one from BlackRock. So in case you didn't know, BlackRock does not have an application decision date yet, according to this article, whereas August 13th is the next decision date for the spot Bitcoin ETF belonging to ARK Invest in collaboration with 21 Shares. And then it looks like CBOE probably has a separate filing application. I mean, ultimately that translates into bullishness.
It's just Cathie Wood? Okay. I don't know why. Someone corrected me one time that said it's Cathie Woods.
We're not out of the woods yet on the ETF. So Circle CEO optimistic over Bitcoin spot ETF approval. Progress is being made. He's got something to say. He thinks progress is being made with more mature market structures that would support something like that, meaning the spot ETF. Allier said in an interview with Bloomberg, you have mature spot markets, well-regulated custody infrastructure, and a good market surveillance. So kind of citing some of the things that may sway Gary Gensler, or maybe some of the arguments that Gary Gensler will make to say that this new wave of ETFs should be approved. Many of the past concerns are being addressed, something that makes him believe that Bitcoin ETFs are more likely to be approved for general investor access. So there you go. That is the Circle boss giving his take. Of course, they have an ETF applications of the spot variety as well. EU reaches agreement on crypto asset regulations and banking. This one's a little bit kind of inside baseball here. The new rules, which also recalibrate the risk weighing for banking assets, such as corporate loans, aim to boost the strength and resilience of banks operating in the union. So I got to be honest with you guys, I read this one. It seems like what it means is that if you're going to have crypto on your balance sheet as a EU regulated bank, you're going to have more collateral. Essentially, that's kind of what it looks like. So that kind of makes sense, and what bank doesn't want to have more on their balance sheet? You're just forcing banks to have more money. Boo-hoo. Cry me a river. Robinhood to cut 7% of its staff after 2 rounds of layoffs. So Robinhood having to go ahead and cut some losses here in the form of labor. Always unfortunate, but hey, are they replacing with AI? I bet you some of it is. Riot Platforms to add 33,000 Bitcoin miners ahead of 2024 halving. If you guys didn't hear, 2024 is actually going to have a halving. The rigs, which were sourced from mining manufacturer MicroBT, will boost the firm's self-mining capacity by 7.6 exahashes per second and comes in advance of Bitcoin's next halving cycle, which is set to take place in heard rumors, April 2024. So very excited for that, and it looks like Riot Platforms is too.
Wow, you made it to the end of the video. Great job. Now, if you want more content like this, whether it be TA on Bitcoin and Ethereum or altcoins, or you just want to stay up to date on the latest and greatest news in crypto, then stay tuned and tune in to our 9 a.m. live show every single weekday morning. It's 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And when you tune in live, use the keyword grip strength in the chat, and you'll get a special shout out from anyone who's paying attention to the chat. Love to see you there.